Here we go. Okay, I'm going to talk today about a number of different projects, but primarily an open and affordable textbook project, a research project that we conducted between 2009 and 2011. I'm an anthropologist. I'm not here as an advocate for anything other than really good social science research, and that's what we pride ourselves on. Okay, let's see, oops. I'm going to talk about two things today. Let me see if I can back this up. I'm going to review some of our findings on the textbook affordability project, but I'm also going to draw on some other research that we've done on digital resource use in the humanities and social sciences, and also some of the work we've done on faculty attitudes, faculty values in the Future of Scholarly Communication project. I'm going to concentrate on issues around open textbooks and the barriers to faculty of both using and creating open textbooks. I'm not going to deal with the economics of textbook publishing. I'm not going to be talking about electronic versus print, except only referring to what we understand to be a student need or student desire for print at this point. I'm going to just go through a couple of slides, which I don't know, why is this doing this? Is there a particular, okay, got it. At the outset, I think it's important, at least from our experience, to acknowledge that most faculty are active and independent decision makers when it comes to choosing a textbook or other curricular materials for their courses. The top-down high school model of textbook adoption is anathema to many professors and instructors. Also, there are natural heterogeneous needs among institution types, disciplines, students, and courses encompassed by higher education. The type of institution and the level and content of the course will ultimately determine which curricular forms offer the best solutions. Just a very brief mention about the textbook study. We use surveys and focus groups. I'm not making any claims to the scientific validity. These were exploratory studies that were actually, we were commissioned to do them by the student PIRGs, who were funded by the Hewlett Foundation. But when they approached us, I made it very clear that the only way we would do this study is if we were allowed to come to whatever conclusions the data told us we could come to, and that we would not be advocates for the student PIRGs. I've included in my slides some detail about the protocols that we used, the questions that we asked, because I understand these slides will be posted, and all of our work is open access. You can access it from our websites, but we asked a very detailed set of questions about the use of open textbooks, traditional textbooks, issues around incentives at various institutions. We talked to community college faculty in California, State University faculty, and the University of California faculty, and in a second follow-up study, we did a more national study. But again, not scientific in the sense, I wouldn't say that we had randomized samples and so on. Faculty want a diversity of choices. They're independent thinkers. They're really busy. They suffer from an extreme information overload. They're generally dedicated to ensuring their students' success, and they don't take well to one-size-fits-all solutions. And I just want to, and I'll come back to this, the limits on personal time. And I think this is relevant specifically to open textbooks and customizing textbooks. Most faculty we spoke with select their own textbooks. This autonomy is incredibly important to college-level teaching in many, if not most, departments. They're very careful to consider cost when choosing textbooks, but that issue, issues around quality of content, including reliability and accuracy of answers, for example, on quizzes, often do and should trump price. It was apparent that an electronic, oh, okay. It's too low. it was apparent that an electronic book in any form must first and foremost function like a printed book. That is, there had to be an ability to print it in its entirety, and very importantly, there had to be some way in which students could mark it up. And we heard about marking up textbooks as being really, in some ways, a dividing line between successful and unsuccessful students in a course. Those students who engaged with the text, who marked up their texts, were generally much more successful in the course. And again, you know, I wouldn't want to say that was a statistical finding, but we heard that again and again. As you know, larger or sequential courses with multiple faculty, you'll have a small number of faculty informally or formally reaching consensus regarding a specific textbook or a series of books. There were quandaries that we heard about. Faculty want flexibility and control over content, the ability to customize textbooks, to pick and choose supplementary materials, and to incorporate their own materials at will, but some expressed frustration, particularly with publishers, that that flexibility was seldom provided. But even when they had access to such amendments, faculty lamented that limited personal time and resources often prevented them from fully taking advantage of available options to customize. We heard a lot about supplementary materials. Faculty valued supplementary materials and the flexibility in picking and choosing such options. Graphics, illustrations, animations, detailed exercises, and especially homework sets and solutions. And we heard particularly graded homework was important. It was an essential feature for departments without TA support, and that's probably in the majority. Bundled textbooks with DVDs, CD-ROMs, and so on made the books more expensive, and it was noted that they might not be used by the students or the faculty, and faculty were generally not happy with the bundling that publishers do and the costs associated with that. Several that we spoke with create their own online supplements and or point students to existing online resources, including, but not exclusive to open education resources. The ability to customize online materials was perceived as attractive, but as I noted before, not always possible. Some noted that online supplements could be made more open source to enable more frequent updates, particularly by users, with the understanding that there had to be some editorial oversight of those changes. But it was also a concern that supplementary materials might not be included with an open or free textbook. Now, we heard a lot about faculty and their sense of students and student needs. Student needs are diverse, just like faculty. They value choice and flexibility. Most faculty perceived that students in introductory and lower division courses needed the textbook as an anchor, particularly as fundamental concepts in most fields are unchanging. And we heard more than a few faculty say they tried to get rid of their textbook, they tried to move to online resources only, and they had complaints from students in introductory courses. They wanted a textbook. An introductory textbook includes fundamental principles and can be an important part of a personal library for majors. In such cases, it was noted that textbook costs could be spread over many classes, and some faculty, particularly those in the University of California system, said, you know, textbook costs as a percentage of the costs of going to college are not that high. We heard a completely different story at the community colleges. Students in advanced courses may also need textbooks to understand complex principles that cannot be taught during class time. And again, faculty talked about the need for students to develop a personal library. So the idea of renting a textbook and having it evaporate after the end of the semester, or buying a digital copy and having it disappear is probably not, for many majors, such a great idea. There has to be still a concept of a personal library that students will have as they move through not only undergraduate, but also graduate school. I don't need to tell you, perhaps, that every course has unique values and requirements for textbook use or curricular material use. And some fields don't use textbooks at all, or very much at all. And this, don't worry about the numbers so much, but this is from our digital resource studies, which focus particularly on the humanities and social sciences, which are a different beast than the STEM fields. But we asked a variety of questions about digital resources in general, but curriculum materials specifically, we found that in the aggregate, really only about 35%, and this is a relatively older study, but California community colleges had a higher desire, actual use of curricular materials online. But we also found that within the humanities and social sciences that you have a lot of variation in terms of what fields really rely on fixed, canned curricular materials. Faculty acknowledge that textbooks are often one of the many resources students use. Students have access to a lot of information on the web, some of it good, some of it bad. Faculty teach and choose their textbooks with the understanding that there's a lot of other information out there. Some seek out and incorporate those web resources and or point students to them. We tend to think about the lower division, okay, that's the low-hanging fruit. That's where most students are using textbooks. That's where we should be focusing our energies when we think about open textbooks or digital textbooks. But the upper-lower division distinctions may be overshadowed by particular course needs or thematic subject areas, and not such large disciplinary divides. I will say that CSU, and particularly the community colleges, and by CSU I mean the California state universities, which are primarily teaching universities, as opposed to the University of California, which is the research university block in California. But the community college faculty noted the diverse demographic backgrounds and uneven preparation of their students and the challenges that arise because of that in choosing effective curriculum materials. Okay, faculty and their thoughts about publishers. Well, many faculty had complaints about publishers, ranging from hard or constant sales pitches to a lack of editorial oversight. The publishing industry was not university vilified. More than a few noted that publishers provide a real service: editorial, production, illustrations, artwork, fact-checking, and that those relevant support personnel have to be remunerated. Faculty wanted the ability to make their own choices or have some say about the possible solutions to affordability problems, rather than have those solutions, and an example would be open, rather than have those solutions dictated them. And they were not all enthusiastic about putting the blame exclusively in the publisher's laps. We heard a lot about college bookstores, for example, as being maybe a bad actor, if you will. The perceptions of open textbooks, we didn't get a common understanding of what that meant. The discussions often morphed into broader discussions about available online resources or online courses. The landscape is complex because many faculty replace textbooks with a pastiche of self-generated and other resources rather than a so-called open textbook. Faculty expressed a lot of concerns about open textbooks as an affordability solution. They were concerned that open, free, affordable, and high quality were oxymoronic, that those things might not agree with one another. We heard a lot about authors need to be paid, intellectual property needs to be protected, the quality of the content and production values needs to be upheld, and overall accessibility was important, accessibility for their students. Open textbooks, and this is not my voice, this is the voice of people that we talk to, of faculty that we talk to. Open textbook solutions in general did not consider the value that publishers bring to the table, and that the educational professionals involved in textbook writing, illustration, and production need to be paid for their work. Content and quality were foremost among the necessary inducements to switch to open textbooks, followed closely by good supplementary materials and built-in flexibility. We heard quality, 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 and quality. Some might be amenable to using open textbooks, but there was no high quality and reliable open textbook currently available in their subject, and they were that they deemed comparable to the printed traditional textbooks they used. The few faculty who had worked with open textbooks or open education resources had been disappointed in the low quality or lack of easy access or usability. Vigorous peer review and editorial oversight were deemed essential components for open textbooks, and it was suggested that disciplinary associations might be tapped to serve those functions in the open environment. Because we asked a series of questions about faculty awareness of affordability issues and awareness of open textbooks, many faculty wanted more or easier to find information on the issue of open textbooks. Some suggested that there's a need for a trustworthy entity to compile and maintain easily discoverable online lists of open textbooks and online education resources. Although faculty are generally supportive of the concept of sharing their own free and open knowledge and can envision open textbooks playing some role, a lack of free time was cited, again, as one reason that open textbooks have not been adopted, since it takes time to navigate through the available options and to customize them. You know, time, time, time. Quality, quality, quality. Authoring textbooks. I mean, I think with open textbooks, there's the assumption that there are going to be a lot of faculty jumping into author textbooks. There were mixed perceptions about contributing to the creation of an open textbook. Some noted that seasoned instructors were more likely to participate, and we find this in all of our work, you know, post-tenure in particular. The limitations of time and resources and or the need for a good editor were deemed to be very important to a faculty member who would consider authoring an open textbook. And then there are a variety of quotes here. The dearest commodity is time, the time to do all this stuff. They should lobby university presidents and provosts to give faculty free time. If this doesn't happen, it's just not possible. I'm going to skip this because I'm a little, I think I'm probably coming, I don't want to overstay my welcome. Incentives. Efforts to produce and customize OER should be incentivized by their institutions as part of the teaching process. That's what we heard from faculty. Encourage faculty to contribute to the production of curricular materials by offering paid leave and or acknowledgement in the promotion system. This is just essential. Faculty sabbaticals were suggested for textbook writing, receiving open academic credit for open textbook publications, or low-cost technical and editorial support for faculty, as well as liaising between faculty and open textbook publishers. Those were all cited as possible incentives to motivate faculty to participate in the creation of open textbooks. Perhaps a creation of a monetary prize as a form of recognition for high-quality, well-received open textbooks. We heard that there just weren't enough open textbooks to satisfy the needs of at least the faculty we talked to. The quality, the range of choices. I think having one open textbook in business management is not going to be the solution to the problem in business management education. Faculty don't want only one choice. They want a variety of choice. But it was stated, and it did come out of our discussions, that if you could couple some incentive system with authoring, that you might be able to begin to create a critical mass of a diverse set of open textbooks. But, and this is my question, wouldn't a faculty member actually try to do a commercial textbook for the monetary and the prestige as opposed to an open textbook, you know, for the monetary rewards and the prestige? And that's a question for all of us as we move into these new landscapes. Now, I'm just briefly going to talk about our work and very extensive work on academic values and scholarly communication practices, which really focus primarily on research scholarly output. But I think it's relevant because so many faculty are working within a system that rewards them for certain kinds of behaviors and doesn't reward them for other kinds of behaviors. And of course, this is going to vary by institution type. What we find, and I really defy anybody I mean, I'm happy to hear if I'm wrong, but we found the primary drivers of faculty behavior to be career advancement, moving their field forward, and receiving credit and attribution. And these are all very tied up with the whole advancement system at the university. The emphasis in tenure and promotion, the processes, is on interpretive scholarly work versus cataloging or curating, writing textbooks, or building websites, for example. So it's a publisher-parish culture. Less so, of course, in teaching institutions and how am I doing? You're moving closer. Just let me say that there's a concern, and these are my final comments. There's a concern that tenure and promotion committees rely too heavily on quantity over quality of publications, on the proxy of imprimatur and citation metrics, and the lack of focus on an alignment of expectations with institutional mission. The expectations at research universities that you have to have X number of publications in peer-reviewed journals in economics or whatever field it is, or you have to have X number of books for tenure and promotion. These expectations have trickled down from research institutions to aspirant institutions. So you find in state universities that really should be more focused on teaching that they're actually more worried about publishing in peer-reviewed journals and publishing books. It means that they do not have the opportunity to get a lot of credit for developing textbooks. You'll get credit for developing a textbook, but if you don't have peer-reviewed scholarly articles, you're out of luck. So finally, there simply are not enough currently available open textbooks in enough disciplines to satisfy the multitude of faculty and student needs in lower and upper division courses. A much wider array of high quality, easy to use, and reliable open textbooks will have to be produced for more widespread faculty adoption. The issues of incentives and rewards for use and creation are going to be very important. And I'm not telling anyone in this room anything they don't know, but open textbooks will likely be only one of many players in the curricular materials market. Thank you.